Myths and mysteries shroud crystals with elusive power and purpose. Tales of wish-fulfilling jewels, elixirs of life, and advanced technology of ancient civilizations. What was behind the obsession with crystals like the Philosopher's Stone and the Chintamani? Were they actual gems, or were they metaphors for an internal type of treasure? Why has it been said that ancient civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria ran on crystals? Let's follow the trail of these myths to discover the origins of crystal power.
Native Americans have a special relationship with crystals. It's important to know that our oral history here in North America goes back 127,000 years. We are one of the oldest cultures on Earth. In Native belief, everything that is created in the world comes from a crystal. A Cherokee Foundation myth, the one that describes what creates the universe, places at the very center of the created worlds an enormous crystal. From every corner of this crystal are 7 strands reaching out into 7 other strands that each reach out into 7 other strands and thus continuing into infinity. What the crystal matrix is doing is it holding information. The whole universe is based on information. What you dream about for your life is often what manifests. With your thoughts and dreams, you have given information to the world. That information creates favorable circumstances to manifest what you want in your life. Thus, the crystals are dreaming the world as they communicate the information coming from the one source. That one source, you can call it the one light, God, Great Spirit, the primordial intelligence. But what this intelligence needs to create the world is a transmitter. And the transmitter at the center of the universe is this primordial crystal. Thus, all things come from crystals.
The Atlanteans were said to have crystal technology. They used these giant crystals as power supplies, as generators. And there is one warning that comes with the legends of Atlantis because they use crystals for everything. So they really learned how to harness these crystals. But because of the greed, they pushed it too far, and the crystals actually destabilized the Earth's magnetic grid, which then led to the Earth changes that sunk the continent of Atlantis. And some say that the strange anomalies that happen around the Bermuda Triangle, where the magnetics go all awry and ships disappear and so forth, is a remnant of the ancient Atlantean technology of crystals that went awry.
The main stone Edgar Cayce mentioned in relation to Atlantis, he called Twaoi. It was a white ray, opalescent, 6-faceted stone which guided the activities generated from the temple in the Atlantis era. It is said that this temple was in the Atla, in the central circle of Atlantis. The light of this stone appeared as the means of communication between infinity and the finite, like the heaven and the earth, or whereby they received communications with outside forces, which sounds to me like extraterrestrials. The Twaoi stone acted as the central power station, radiating energies and guiding transportation systems of levitation, which would travel through air, on water, or under the water, just the same. It is said that before Atlantis sank, sages and initiates of the Atlantean mystery realized the fate of the civilization and departed to other lands, carrying with them the secret doctrines.
Throughout history, there has been this obsession with magical stones. You can find it in Eastern legends as well as Western legends. So for example, alchemy, they talk about the Philosopher's Stone. And the Philosopher's Stone was said to be able to instantly transform lead into gold. It represents the perfection of the great work of the process of transformation and transmutation. And they thought that anyone who possessed this Philosopher's Stone would be able to heal all ailments, any sickness, they would have eternal life, they would be able to become immortalized and perfected like a god. So the Philosopher's Stone was highly sought after because People wanted eternal life, people wanted health, people wanted riches. And it was almost like that Midas touch. Whatever that philosopher's stone touched, it would instantly transform it and perfect it. So there's very many legends like this. The philosopher's stone is one example.
Other myths and legends talk about the Lemurians who escaped into the inner earth to restart their civilizations. The mythical city of Shambhala and the crystal city of Thomasis are both said to exist in giant caverns within Mother Earth. It is said there are hidden entrances, for example, under the Busecis mountain in Romania, and portals to access the advanced transportation levitation vehicles, which travel through tunnels and atmosphere generated by crystal technology and advanced knowledge. The Lemurian crystals were said to be programmed, hidden, and rematerialized into the earth to resurface for the right people who could attune to the sacred knowledge stored within them. Another reading by Edgar Cayce revealed that portions of the Temple of Atlantis may still be discovered off the coast of Bimini Island in the Caribbean Sea. In 1970, near the Bimini Island, Dr. Ray Brown, a physician and adventurer, was on an expedition searching for sunken Spanish galleon treasures. After a storm and big hurricane, he was scuba diving and he stumbled upon ruins and columns and saw the top of a pyramid protruding out of the sand. Inside the pyramid, he discovered a room which held a crystal sphere. The sphere in the center of the room was cradled in 2 metal hands on top of a pedestal column. And from the ceiling, a golden rod tipped with a red crystal pointed at the crystal ball. Surrounding the crystal in a circle were 7 chairs, with one being higher than the rest. And on the wall was a falcon holding the sun in its talon, with 7 beings sitting on top of each wing. And on its breast were 14 gemstones in a 2-3-4-3-2 pattern. The one object Dr. Brown could retrieve was the crystal sphere, and demonstrates powerful, mysterious properties. When a metal rod is placed into the field of the crystal, at a certain angle, the rod would begin to float above it.
Many crystals actually have myths behind them. There's legends of where they came from. And so, for example, diamonds, right? Where did the diamonds come from? Well, the diamonds in an ancient Greek legend were said to have come from the god Kronos, the primordial god of time, who changed a young man who was named Adamas, and he transformed him into a very immensely strong stone. Now, the name Adamas actually means invincible. So it was thought that this stone that comes from Adamas, the diamond, brought the power of invincibility and almost like immortality. And so it was seen as potentially as an antidote even for poisons, because it would make the person who consumed it invincible or who wore the talisman of it. But it was also then where our whole tradition of getting the wedding ring of a diamond came from, was all the way back to this ancient Greek legend, where it said that the diamond had the power to reinforce the bond of love between 2 people so that it was invincible and indestructible.
The name of amethyst is derived from a Greek word meaning sober. There is a myth that in ancient times people would drink wine from goblets made of amethyst to be able to drink as much as they wanted without becoming intoxicated. In Chinese medicine, amethyst is used to clear heat in the blood. When we drink too much, one of the results is heat in the blood. And indeed, Chinese medicine does note the use of amethyst for acute alcohol poisoning. So maybe they didn't have amethyst goblets in ancient Greece. But who's to say they didn't put little amethyst points into their goblets, whatever they were made of? Why name the stone sober in the first place?
Emeralds also have really interesting myth or legend behind them, which relates to the emerald tablets of alchemy. Now, it's said that Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, was able to alchemically melt emerald into this liquid form And then the emerald tablets, the formula that he then transcribed, contained all the secrets on how to perform all the magical transformations and transmutations of the alchemical tradition, were then inscribed into this emerald. But rather than them being etched in as if you were scratching it into an emerald stone, they were actually protruding from the emerald tablet, which meant that the emerald had to have been melted into a mold, and then the mold was removed after the emerald solidified. And I just love the legend that is behind the labradorite. Now, this one comes to us from the native Canadian Inuit tribe. And it said that there was an Inuit warrior who was walking along, and he found that there was light that was trapped deep within the earth, within some stones. And to try and free this light, he took his spear and he pierced into the earth to pierce the stone, and he was able to free most of the light. And as that light escaped, it formed what we now know of as the beautiful aurora borealis, the northern lights. But some of that light remained trapped within the stone, and those fragments of light that remained trapped within the stone then formed the stone that we now call labradorite, which is why the labradorite has so much of this rainbow color in it and looks very much like the northern lights. There's one myth about the Icelandic sunstone. It's in the Icelandic sagas, and it mentions that the Vikings used this sunstone to help them navigate the seas and locate where the sun was at, even on completely cloudy days. Now, since then, we've found enough information from their mythology pointing to a large, clear calcite stone crystal that they were able to hold up to the sky, and because it polarized the light, they were able to locate exactly where the sun was coming from, even if it was behind the clouds. So there's an example of one of these myths that has been verified.
Deeply interwoven with the origin myths of crystals are the mystical properties that come with them. Crystals have a long history of being used to foretell the future, to contact the dead, and to develop psychic abilities. Ancient tales point at the multidimensionality of crystals, where they can dematerialize and rematerialize at will, and be used to enter into altered states of consciousness and connect to higher beings. So what is the spiritual function of crystals? Why are they here? And how can they be used to strengthen the connection between our physical and spiritual world?
Nature spirits, also called devas, are the etheric counterparts or spirit essence of each living being. There's a general deva of the mineral kingdom, but there are also specific devas for, say, rose quartz or larimar. There are many distinct families of nature spirits coexisting in our reality in the ether, like living in parallel universes, where humans may not necessarily perceive them, for they exist at different frequencies. However, it is possible under proper conditions and with sensitivity to communicate with the elemental kingdom, especially when one is ready to invite them in by communicating with them or making offerings.
Crystals are multidimensional and can shift into different dimensions. I've heard of and experienced crystals dematerializing and then coming back. They don't do that frequently, but they can do it under the influence of higher beings to help train us.
Crystals have been used for divination since ancient times. For example, scrying, crystal balls. We've all heard of the psychics using crystal balls to foresee the future. There is actually something to this. But crystals, like for readings, for example, and for divination, we can work with one of the things that we teach in some of our classes in the mystery school, working with crystals, is to get twin crystals. What a twin crystal is two crystals that are almost identical and they come from the same source. They actually grow off of the same little seed, for example. And because just like twins, they have this sort of connection between them, almost like a psychic connection between them. They're entangled in some way. Energetically, they resonate with each other. So you could hold one crystal, one of the twins, and then you can give the other crystal to a person that is having a reading done for them. And this will help you then through the crystal, it'll communicate to the crystal that you're holding. They're holding one, you're holding the other, and it'll help transmit some information in a more amplified signal to help you tune in to what it is that needs to be read for this person. So this is one way that divination can happen.
On the subject of crystal balls, Western culture often thinks Native Americans had no technology. This is false. The difference being that our technologies were spiritual technologies. Some people called skywalkers could really fly. Others could teleport. We could build pyramids and skulls out of hard crystal stones. We could also make crystal balls. It's important that people know how to work with the crystal balls, because if you gaze too long into a crystal ball, you can really harm your optic nerve. Crystal balls really need more purification than other stones. You will need to purify them often because you don't want them to hold any information. They have to be completely neutral. And then you want to find a place where there's a light reflecting into it. And then you gaze at that specific place and you diffuse your vision. And with time, you'll see mist. And in that mist, something will happen. Or maybe you'll see it in the ball. Everybody is different at that level. But in the beginning, you gaze 5 minutes. That's it. Then after a while, you can go 10 minutes, then 20 minutes. You want to stop at 20 minutes because you can really harm your optic nerve.
Crystals have historically been used to develop psychic abilities. For example, through black obsidian mirrors, although technically obsidian is not a crystal but a glass, which has been used since ancient times by the Mayan peoples, and I'm sure other ancient earth-based cultures, to access one's shadow self, their feminine or masculine sides, or other parallel or past life selves, as they practiced scrying and journeying into the black obsidian mirror by candlelight. We can also use double terminated crystals with a partner, each holding a double terminated crystal to practice telepathy and sending and receiving information.
Another important stone for your personal development are Herkimer diamond crystals for dream work. Actually, they come from the region of Herkimer in New York State, and they're not diamonds. They're clear quartz crystals with the particularity that they have bitermination. You see, they have 2 points. You travel through that. It's like a vortex through which you travel to be able to do out-of-body experiences. So what you happen to experience when you start working with a proper prepared Herkimer is that it will accompany you in the dream world. You know, it will travel with you. It'll protect you. It's clear light. Quartz crystals are clear light. And so they protect you from everything that's dark.
Crystals can be such important allies for us as humans because they have so many gifts and so much support that they can bring into our lives, whether it's for healing, for helping us raise our consciousness, for becoming more in tune with the kingdom of nature and the mineral kingdom and Mother Earth, or whether it's for opening up our psychic abilities and dreaming, creating more sacred space, anchoring sacred geometry, all of these things. There's so many amazing things that crystals can bring into our lives. So make them your ally, get to know them, build a relationship with them, and let them go to work for you.
It's important to understand the spiritual function and purpose of the mineral kingdom. That is, to hold important information and transmit important information. The crystals were placed here at the beginning of the creation of the planet to transmit the fundamental primordial laws of the universe and to hold them there. And that's why they are so important, because they can hold them for millennia upon millennia upon millennia. And they hold the basic, pure information of the universe. As we purify ourselves and we work on our spiritual mission in life, we become more and more evolved. And if we do that, we become more and more beautiful. in everything we do. And that's what we call the beauty way. And the crystals, they are reminding us of that because they are beauty. They have beautiful form. And they're all different. Crystals are there to show us, look, if you evolve, you become beautiful. And so we learn to walk on the beauty way, and the crystals are there to remind us of this. And so, as such, they are precious friends.
From foundation myths and cosmic origins to ancient crystal technology gone awry and mythical subterranean kingdoms to magical gems, crystals seem to be a common and primordial motif in many legends from across the world. The esoteric power embedded in crystals has been utilized for eons by shamans and initiates across the globe to bridge the physical and spiritual worlds. As these precious stones fall back into our hands, may they inspire us to bring forth the light, the brilliance and lucidity within ourselves as we refine our own crystalline natures. May we treasure their gifts and make them our allies in our conscious evolution so we can co-create a more beautiful, harmonious, and luminous world.